So despite XDefiant having no SBMM, it is still quite a difficult game at times for a lot of the community. FPS players these days are simply just better than we were 10 years ago, and so it is still a pretty competitive game despite that lack of SBMM. And therefore, I wanted to run you guys through some of the most basic tips you can implement into your game that'll help improve your KD in XDefiant. Now obviously KD, or kill death ratio, isn't everything in this game. It is still important to play the objective and try and help your team get the win, but at the end of the day, the better your KD is in any given game, the more likely you are to win in the game too. I see a lot of people saying KD doesn't matter, it's all about playing the objective, but luckily those things are not mutually exclusive, and if you are getting a heap of kills while also playing the objective, that right there is your best way to guarantee more wins in any shooter that you ever play. Now the first tip that I have is to do with the rotational aim assist, so obviously keep in mind this tip is essentially just for controller players, and I have touched on this in a previous video. I've got a whole video going over essentially improving your accuracy, so be sure to go and check that one out as well. But for those who don't know what rotational aim assist is, it's almost an added layer of aim assist that you get when you are strafing side to side while also aiming at an enemy. This means that you get the regular aim assist that you get from the right stick when you're aiming at someone, but you also get just the tiniest little bit of additional aim assist from moving your left stick left to right and essentially moving back and forward, and that is going to help you guys stay on target more often than not. Now this method essentially works for most shooters that you play. Obviously when it comes to a game like Counter-Strike or Valorant, for example, it is sort of crucial to the gameplay of those games that you want to be standing still while you're shooting, but that is definitely not the case in pretty much every other shooter that you'll play. You do not want to be standing still, because that just makes you not only a very easy target, but you're not going to get that rotational aim assist as well. So constantly be on the move when you are aiming at enemies. This is going to sound super obvious to anyone who already does this, but to anyone who is a little bit newer to shooters or haven't played that many shooters in the last few years, this is going to help you guys massively when it comes to staying on target, and therefore you are definitely going to end up getting more kills than you probably would otherwise. Now the next tip that I've got is to do with jumping around corners. Now I know there's been a lot of discourse in this community so far about the bunny hopping. They have mentioned they are going to be fine-tuning that, and by the time this video goes up they may have already done that, but this isn't so much to do with actual bunny hopping. This is just a technique that has been a lot more prevalent in shooters over the last probably 5 or so years, specifically to do with cornering rather than just jumping around the map like an actual rabbit, because those two things are not quite the same. Now it's obviously a little bit more niche because going around a corner is only going to happen X amount of times per game. It's not like every single time you get a kill you are going around a corner, but it does happen more than you probably think. And the thing with rounding corners is that if you know there's an enemy around that corner and you just slowly walk out there, maybe you're already aimed down sights and you just slowly round that corner, the enemy is most likely going to see you before you actually fully round the corner, and they will essentially be able to kill you before you even see them, or even if you do see them, they're probably going to kill you before you have the time to react. So what you want to be doing essentially any time that you can, even if you don't think there's an enemy there, it is still worth doing this. You want to sprint in the lead up to getting to that corner. You cannot do this strafing sideways. You have to sprint directly at the corner. Then you want to be jumping and turning your stick at the right time to then aim around the corner while you're moving at the speed of your full sprint. And jumping allows you to keep that momentum that you get from sprinting. What this means is that you kind of get the speed of the sprint while still being able to ADS. Obviously you guys will know that you can't sprint while being aimed down sights, but imagine being able to sprint around the entire map while also being aimed down sights. That is pretty much what this method allows when it comes to rounding corners, because like I said, you are keeping the momentum from sprinting in the lead up. Like I said, once you've hit jump, you will continue to keep that momentum until you land, but while you're in the air you can still aim around that corner and shoot your enemies if they are there. So this one is kind of basic, but it is definitely going to help you guys get a lot more kills than you probably expect. If you're slowly rounding corners, you are definitely going to die more often than not, because the enemy will most likely see you before you even see them. Now before we get on to the next tips, if you guys are new to the channel and you are enjoying the content so far, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. There is plenty more XDefiant content like this on the way. I'm super excited for season 1 to launch, and there is so much stuff on the horizon, so make sure you don't miss out. Now the next tip I've got is actually to do with slowing down just a little bit. It is very easy to get sucked into playing super aggressively in this game. It's kind of like that in any arcade shooter shooter. I'm a little bit the same with Call of Duty. And don't get me wrong, playing aggressively and sort of sprinting around like an absolute demon, that can definitely work. And that is generally how I tend to play the game. But I do also find that if I'm struggling a little bit, sometimes it does pay to just slow down a little bit, stop running around like an idiot, and just kind of play the game a little bit more tactically. And usually that will result in me having a much better game. Now, what I mean when I say slowing down, this can include using, for example, a longer range weapon like maybe the M16 or one of the marksman rifles, and just playing at a little bit of a longer range rather than being constantly right next to your enemies. At the end of the day, most people in this game are going to be using assault rifles or SMGs, and so if you've got a bit more of a long range weapon, you are definitely going to win more gunfights than not at those longer ranges. On top of that too, it is just about playing a little bit more tactically. For example, maybe using the phantoms with the mag shield and just setting up in smart positions that are still high traffic. I'm not telling you guys to sit at the back of the map and just be completely useless. You still want to be in the action, but instead of being right there, right next to the enemy, you can instead just set up in a more tactical position, use your mag shield, for example, and just kind of patrol areas. Instead of going around the map chasing kills, you can kind of let those enemies come to you, where you are most likely going to be a little bit better set up. They're going to be then running around like dickheads while you're kind of set up ready for them to round those corners, and that is definitely going to lead to a lot more kills than you probably expect, considering the fast-paced nature of XDefiant. Now, like I said, an aggressive playstyle is definitely not a bad thing. It very much works in this game, but even if you are adept at playing that aggressive playstyle, it is still great to slow down if you're having a bad session or something like that. Pretty much every time I'm having a really bad game, that is all I do. I just switch to a more long-range weapon, slow down a little bit, and almost always it results in me doing a little bit better than I was previously. Now, the next tip is super quick and simple, and it's going to sound very, very obvious, but you want to be paying more attention to your minimap. Now, I think in games like this, in terms of the typical arcade type of shooter, Call of Duty has unfortunately ruined the mindset of most players' use of the minimap. And I'm talking about myself when I say that too. Back in the old school Call of Duties, the Black Ops 2 sort of era, when I was playing COD, I would always have an eye on the minimap pretty much 24/7, but with the last 5 or so CODs removing the red dots when enemies shoot, I myself have even failed to pretty much look at the minimap at all when I'm playing XDefiant, at least when I started anyway. Even though I know it's a crucial tip to be implementing, Call of Duty has just kind of ruined my mindset, and I just would often forget to actually do so. So that is something you guys want to be doing in this game. Constantly check your minimap. Now, obviously you want to pick your moments. If you're in a really high traffic area and you look at your minimap, oftentimes you'll look back at your screen and there's an enemy shooting at you. So don't just look at it all the time. You want to be picking your moments, but this is something you guys want to be doing more often than not. There is a lot of information you can gather from the minimap, and like I said, I think we have all kind of been conditioned, at least those of us who have played Call of Duty for the last 5 or so years, we have unfortunately been conditioned to just kind of neglect the minimap, because realistically in Call of Duty the minimap is literally pointless these days, but that is definitely not the case in XDefiant. Now, last but not least, this one might sound a little bit silly, but it definitely pays to run EMPs more so than pretty much any other device in this game. Now, that might sound dumb. Using an EMP over a lethal device like a grenade isn't going to net you more kills, because obviously a grenade can get a kill where an EMP sort of can't actually kill anyone. But most of the time, this will actually lead to more kills. EMPs can essentially shut down any single thing in this game, whether that is an ability or a device. The only thing it won't cancel is the ultras, which I think is fair enough. There would be nothing more frustrating than saving up and getting your ultra, and then someone just throws an EMP at you and cancels it. So I think that is completely fair, but everything else in the game will get shut down by an EMP. That means the enemy mag shields, that means the Libertad's little health canister, for example. And on top of that, it also stops people from using their abilities for a short period of time too. So even if they haven't put down a mag shield, if they were just about to throw down their mag shield, but they've been hit by an EMP, they can no longer do that. So this is going to lead to a lot more kills than you probably expect, mostly because it is going to kind of panic the enemy team. They can't do what they were initially planning, whether that is they've already had a shield down and then it's gone. They are then now way out in the open and you can obviously pick up a kill. Or even if you were pushing into an objective and they were about to throw down their shield, that is what they're planning to do, and now they can no longer do that, meaning that the gunfight is kind of in your favor simply just from throwing an EMP. So give these a try. Even though I do see them fairly often in games, I do still think they are fairly underrated in my opinion. For me, they are by far the best device you can run in XDefiant. But that is it for some quick tips and tricks to help improve your kill death ratio in XDefiant, guys. If that did help you guys out and you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. There is plenty more content like this on the way. But with that being said, thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and we'll see you all out there in the arena.